Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Season 7 of Sun Coaches Podcast is proudly brought to you by Titan Sensor. Season 7. That was my number in high school, so maybe this will be lucky for us, but we'll see. You know, I've learned over time that when somebody's talking about something you really don't want to talk about, you just can always throw in there, hey, I knew this guy once, and then just pretty much make up whatever you want to, and they won't listen to it. They'll get off track, and you don't have to talk about the uncomfortable thing anymore. Coach, like we do every week, tell everybody where you grew up and where you're from. Sun Coaches Podcast, where not everybody has a funny story, but everybody has a story. Hope you enjoy Season 7 of Sun Coaches Podcast. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sensor for Season 6 and 7. Titan is made in the USA, proudly founded and based in Texas. When you connect with Titan, you are not alone. You can collaborate and share templates with other coaches across the country to build reports and foster competition. Used by programs such as State 6A Georgia State champion Grayson High School, Titan can tailor a package to fit your needs. The eye in the sky. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 7, and I'm fired up today to be joined by a guy that's the head coach at one of the places that most people that know me know that I openly covet this position. He's the head coach at Franklin County, Coach Chuck Holland. Thanks for being on with me.
Coach, I appreciate you having me, man. It's an honor, and I'm fired up.
Coach, I've told people for years that I was like, look, when I retire, I'm going to the mountains. And then I found a golf course community in Franklin County. I was like, I'll go there. that place looks great.
Coach, I'm just surprised you know where Franklin County is, man, because when we go around, people are like, where in the world is that? And I was like, look, man, you get on 85, and right before you get into South Carolina, you know, we're about 15 minutes from there. So I appreciate you knowing where it is, but it truly is a great place, man.
And you grew up there, right?
Yes, sir. Born and raised in one of the small towns, Livonia. Graduated from Franklin County High School and started in the youth ministry at Livonia First Baptist, and then the Lord switched the mission field to the public school system. So I've been, you know, throughout the middle school program and starting year 3 here at Franklin County High School.
And that's awesome. So who did you play for in high school?
So Coach Jeff Davis was my coach, and he great mentor to me, man. Just outside of my own dad, you know, probably had one of the biggest impacts. You know, just great Christian man, great Christian leader, and heck of a coach. I mean, he's the all-time winningest coach up here in Franklin County. And you know, when you kind of go looking through the Georgia history stuff, you'll kind of see his in the 80s and 90s, and just what he was able to do was amazing. So I got to play for him, and my final season in 2000 was actually his last year that he coached as well. And praise the Lord, he's still living today, and we talk regularly. So it's just been awesome to be able to play for him and see the impact he had on me and so many others, and still be able to have him in my life, and holding the position that he had, for him to be able to give me advice and stuff like that. I'm truly blessed.
Well, did you play anything other than football? I'm sure you probably did something.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's Franklin County. We're a rural school in AA, so we have a lot of multi-sport athletes, and I was one of them. I actually grew up in a basketball family. My dad played at UGA in the 70s, so I got 2 brothers. One older and one younger. So we grew up, as a basketball family, and I always loved football, even growing up, but they were both basketball guys. So obviously basketball was the first, sport that I played, and grew up playing Little League baseball, all throughout. And then when I got to high school, I actually lettered in 4 sports here at Franklin County. Obviously football, I also did track, basketball. In my senior year, Coach Davis was actually the tennis coach, so he recruited me out to the tennis courts, and I played tennis, my senior year, man, and truly fell in love with that. My dad played with Manny Diaz, who was the coach at Georgia. They went to school together, and he played when I was younger, so I knew about the sport. And Coach like, look, he called me Duck. That was my nickname. He said, Duck. He said, I need some players. I want you to come out there. So I ended up playing one doubles for him and loved it. Ended up coaching it and played it, as I got older and stuff. But very involved in sports, man. Huge part of my life.
Well, it's funny how when we're, now we're coaches and we're at school and we get some of those, secondary and tertiary sports, and we go to our football kids, we go to kids we enjoy being around,
Yes, sir.
and we're like, hey man, won't you try this? Man, coach, I don't know anything about it. No, I don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And the kids end up loving it. Like you ended up enjoying doing that.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I coached middle school and high school tennis for, 10, 11 years. And I actually took Coach Davis's, when I moved up from the middle school to high school when he retired, totally from coaching tennis and stuff. But that's what I do. We had some kids who had a couple of good, legit tennis players. But I mean, we're not a big tennis community. So I'd find, basketball players or football players. And, hey, are you running track? You playing baseball? No, like, well, hey, come on. I'm going to teach you how to play tennis. But and then they get out there. It's fun. But I'm a big proponent. I tell my guys even now that, fellas, during the winter, play basketball, wrestle, in the spring, do baseball, track, soccer, do something. Because I think the more sports they play, the more it helps them.
So you had a very different path to the head coaching chair than most people. You said you started out in the ministry. So did you go to seminary or I mean, how did that work out?
No, Coach, I didn't. I went to Western Carolina in Cullowhee and played there for 2 seasons. And, I just that was a very pivotal time in my life. I mean, just because, to be completely honest, the players that drive coaches the most, I had kind of turned into one of those, man, and kind of lost my focus and straight off the path. So I ended up playing there for 2 years and, ended up coming back to Georgia. And ended up, I was literally at UGA, ended up graduating to start my master's program. And I, essentially got saved, submitted my life to the Lord. And that summer, was working back home. And as I said, getting ready to start my master's program. And I started working with youth during the summer, and that fall, my pastor came to me and said, hey, we're looking for an intern. And I was like, well, look, I don't know what in the heck I'm doing, but I'd love to give it a try. So fell in love with it, man. And did that for 6 years from 2006 to 2011. And then I started, tutoring in the schools, and the Lord switched my mission field, from the church scene to the public school scene. So that's kind of how I got started. But I mean, even when I went to college, I went for education. So it's kind of one of those, I was getting ready. But like I said, I already graduated. My mama, she was a school teacher. She was a counselor. She wanted me to go in and start my master's. So I started working on that. Like I say, the Lord opened up that door for me for those 6 years.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, you knew you were going to do something working with kids and working with youth,
yes, sir,
one way or the other. Because I ask people all the time, I'm like, hey, man, did you get in the wrong line or something when you were in? I mean, you did know what you were signing up for when you got in this high school coaching thing. And it's funny how a lot of the guys are like, no, this is really what I wanted to do. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's awesome, because we have such a shortage now of trying to find just teachers, much less coaches. Right. That want to pour into young people and want to spend their free time raising other people's kids, because that's basically what we do.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah, and that was my plan. I mean, I knew going in that I wanted to teach and coach. I mean, of course, I had dreams, when I was younger, of playing in the NFL and stuff like that. But when I got up to Western Carolina, I figured out real quick, hey, this is one AA ball, and I ain't one of these dudes. So the NFL ain't for me. So I knew I wanted to go into teaching and coaching. And like I say, the Lord just took me on that little detour. But it just, looking back at it, man, it just really prepared me so much. It helped me mature, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and really prepared me for what I'm doing today. Because I tell anybody, the greatest preparation I ever had was being youth director for 6 years and having to deal with, middle schoolers and middle school parents and stuff like that, man. So it was the Lord definitely used that kind of prepare me for where I'm at today.
And then you transitioned into being a middle school teacher and coach.
Yes, sir. So 2011, it just kind of Lord opened up a door, for that. And I kind of prayed about it. I was getting ready to get married. So it was just one of those things that a very big transition year for me. But like I said, just when I was doing the tutoring, it was one of those things that felt right, just in my spirit, it felt right. So I actually was coaching as a lay coach, coaching basketball at the school, and loved being around it, just from having the sports perspective. And as I said, my dad coached me all throughout rec ball, and Coach Davis, throughout high school. So I definitely wanted to have an impact, through sports. So I started in 2011, and you know how it is, Coach. I mean, coached 3 sports, football, basketball, and tennis, and got married in the spring, man. So that year was a whirlwind without a doubt.
That's awesome. And so you spent your whole career in Franklin County. You're from Franklin County, and so you get it.
Yes, sir.
And that's important. And I try to tell people that when they, ask about, hey, Mox, what jobs open, this, that. I'm like, look, man, a lot of these places, you got to be from there. You got to know somebody, or you've got to have a connection, or you've got to be a fit for the community. And there was a time there before you got, promoted or took over, or however you want to, whatever happened, where it was like a revolving door of people coming in, and I think it's just awesome that you've gotten to grow up with this group. Not grow up, but you know what I mean. You got to move with the same group to when you took over the head coaching job. You knew the kids from the time they were little until they're high school age kids, and I think that's important.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, Franklin County is a very special place to me, but it's also unique. I mean, it's still definitely a small town, and I mean the superintendent who hired me as head coach back in 3 years ago, she was also the one who hired me when she was assistant principal through the middle school. So, like you say, just building relationships, and now, heck, man, being able to coach kids whose parents I played with. I mean, that's been awesome. And just seeing, kids who were in the youth ministry 15 years ago, when I was doing it, just to see them. Well, now they got kids in school too, who are coming up and on. It's been very special for me because the senior class, I actually coached them in 8th grade. And the junior class, once we finish out, Lord willing, next year, I will have literally been with them, from their 7th, 8th grade year all the way through high school. So, that's been really cool just to see their maturity, and just see how they've grown. And like you said, man, there have been some good men, some good coaches to come through here at Franklin County. When I first, took over that senior class, I was literally the 3rd coach that they'd have in 4 years. So stability is necessary, especially in a smaller town, a smaller community like this, to where you're not going to get a lot of kids who move in and stuff. So that's to me, that's very important.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I was supposed to go to Evans, and then they built Lakeside Evans. And our middle school baseball coach, Jimmy Smith, was our middle school baseball coach. And when they opened up Lakeside, he was the head baseball coach. So I got to be on the player side of what you're getting to experience as a coach. Right. I got to play for the same man for 6 years. Yeah. And it was awesome. And I mean, he was the same to us from the time we were 12 till we were 18, but it was just cool knowing that, he knew us. He, I don't know how he felt about us, but he probably say something different, but I really enjoyed knowing, I mean, cause you know what you got. I mean, and kids like structure, and kids like the same, and kids like knowing, who's going to be there every day and every year and things like that. And I mean, I didn't have to deal with this growing up, but I mean, a lot of people deal with a lot of, divorce and family splitting up and things like that. So a lot of times as a coach, it's the only stability kids have.
Right. Yes, sir. Well, that's when we're really big on trying to create a family atmosphere. And heck, man, I mean, it's a lot of times we feel like family, because I know sometimes it's like, man, coach, you getting on my dang nerves.
Drew McIntyre here from WWE. Wielding the Claymore can be a life of chaos. When I'm not dominating in the ring, Chumba Casino is how this warrior takes a wee break. With hundreds of online social games and new weekly releases, there's always something fresh to try. And those daily boosts, next level. Even my free time feels like Valhalla. So when life feels like a battle, kick up your feet, have some fun, and let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T's and C's. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
And it's like, well, you getting on my dang nerves too, but it is. I mean, it's truly like a family. And you think about a family structure, sometimes the people that see the worst of you, are your own kids. And, they definitely see some sides of me that I'm not proud of, but it has been awesome just to see their growth and maturity, for so many of them, just from going to that, from that wild little, 13-year-old to, I mean, they're a dang, young man right now. So that's been very rewarding. And just, just to see success on the field is great, but to see them grow as individuals, as students, and turn into good young men, to me, that's what's most important.
Yeah, I was driving one of our kids today because we have to, our practice facility is not on campus. Right. So we're riding back, and, kids are like, can I get a ride back, coach? Or, they could walk. It's not, it's not far at all. But, yeah, man, hop in. So little freshman hops in, and he had to go against the biggest human we have on our team. We've got a guy named Big T, and Big T's about 6'3" or 4", and he's 3-something. And he's just a large man. Right. He's 18-year-old senior and great kid and great ball player, very athletic to be as big as he is. And I got this little freshman that I'm working in at guard. And he had to block him today, or try to block him. And Big T just grabbed him one time and kind of threw him into the running back and used him to tackle him. And my boy just jumped up and kind of looked at me and threw his arms up like, well, that's about all I got.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, so we're in the truck. I was like, look, baby, you're not going to be as strong as they are. You're probably not going to be as fast as they are. But I want you to go as fast as you can and don't bust assignments, because there's a heap of difference between a 14-year-old boy and a 19-year-old man. And it's hard to get freshmen to understand sometimes. You're 14, baby. You're playing against 18, 19-year-old men that have they're biologically, they have matured.
No, exactly. Yes, sir.
Mentally, maybe not so much, but physically, they are different than you are. And, don't get discouraged or whatever. So, what can you tell me a little bit about watching these guys grow up, not just spiritually and mentally, but physically over the years?
Yeah, that's been huge, for us. And like you said, we, my first year, man, we had I love the senior group, they were great kids, but we ended up having a lot of injuries that year. So we ended up having to play a lot of freshmen and sophomores. And just like the kid you were talking about, like, man, you're a good football player, but you should really be playing JV right now, but you're having to come up and play. And heck, I can remember vividly going down there to Hebrew Christian our first year, and Coach Guess, of course, some of the creatures they had. And I was literally about close to halftime just praying like, Lord, please don't let one of our kids get seriously injured. Because, it was literally grown men playing against boys. But it has been really cool because I actually got to take over as a strength conditioning coach at the middle school and really started working with them. So it was cool from that first group I had, the 7th graders, just to see the improvements they made from 7th to 8th grade. And then also seeing, as they come up here, when now we're in year 3, just seeing the growth that a lot of them have had throughout the years, and just seeing a lot of the buy-in that you have. And it's awesome, when you go in there, to the locker room and you see a kid flexing in the mirror and he's like, look, coach, I'm getting big, and it's like, heck yeah, you are, man. Like, keep working, keep eating and stuff like that. So it's been great just to be able to celebrate some of that stuff with them, and just to see them on the field being able to make plays to where, two years ago they were a freshman and sophomore, and they were getting, their head beat in, and they were trying their best, but just was not physically on the level. Well, flip to it this year, well, now they're able to make plays out there, and they're the ones, that's able to put on some, make some good blocks, make some big hits and tackles and stuff like that. So that's been very rewarding, and you almost feel like I'm almost like a proud dad moment, when you see them grow and have the success that they're having.
Well, I know that, you said you started off in the middle school weight training program. So was that like the first thing you thought when you took over the high school, the varsity program, that you had to keep? Was that like, all right, we've got to get stronger?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think definitely it really opened my eyes. Coach, to be honest, even, yes, the weights are huge, but also just the speed and agility training. And with that group, we actually started doing a split where it'd be Monday Wednesday and Friday, we would be, weight room stuff. And then Tuesday, Thursday would be more speed, agility, and all that. So that really kind of opened up my eyes. And, my daddy used to always tell us, of course, him being a basketball guy, he'd say, hey, you can hide speed on the basketball court, but you can't hide it on the football field. I mean, and when you look at teams, yeah, they're going to be big up front, and the line of scrimmage are extremely important. But in space, when you got guys that move, and I'm a defensive guy, that's what I played in high school and college. So I'm kind of defensive mindset. But when you get 11 guys that can run to the football, I mean, they're going to reach some havoc. So I think it was a little bit of a combination with that. But Coach, I think probably the thing I learned the most just coming up from middle school to high school was how important it was to take baby steps, because, when I came to the program, they had lost 17 games in a row. The previous year, I think they had given up close to 500 points and only scored 49. So it was kind of a fragile, program. Now they played in one of the best regions in the state that year. Once again, I mean, you had coaches that knew what they were doing here before, and you had good guys. It was just kind of an unfortunate season, had some injuries and things like that. So I think for me, the biggest thing I had to learn was how much harder it is to change the culture on a high school level as the middle school level. Middle school level, man, I get them when they're 6th, 7th grade, man, and they, how middle school kids are. They're excited to be there. They're excited about weightlifting. They're not driving yet. They're not, having jobs. Most of them don't have girlfriends, so they're so formidable and they're easy to mold. When you get up to high school and you get a kid that's 16, 17 years old, well, now he wants to, get a new truck, and he wants to jack his truck up, and he wants to, take his girlfriend out on dates, and he wants to buy nice clothes and stuff. So to me, that was the biggest adjustment I had to make of like, man, this ain't going to be able to change overnight, and as quickly as it did from the high school level. So, I mean, literally the first year we sat down, with our seniors. We're like, okay, guys, like, what are some goals that we have? And I mean, Coach, literally one of their goals was, Coach, we want to score a touchdown on our home field. The previous year it had been renovated. We got turf, got a beautiful jumbotron. They named the field after Coach Davis, or Jeff Davis Field at Ed Bryant Stadium. So had a big celebration, but they didn't score a touchdown. So that was one of the things they wanted to do, was score a touchdown on their home field. They obviously hadn't won a game, so they wanted to win a game. So just small things like that. I mean, then offensively said, okay, guys, we want to score 100 points this year. That's our goal, to do that, score in every single ball game. So I think I really found out the importance, kind of the saying of Rome wasn't built in a day, but really taking those baby steps. I'm a perfectionist, man. That's a fault of mine without a doubt, but just being able to take it step by step. And the motto that we talk about all the time is the little things add up and make a big difference, just really doing those little things right and really focusing on it and celebrating the small victories. I think in coaching, we get so tied up in the wins because, I mean, heck, man, that's what, if you don't win enough, you're eventually going to get fired. But at the end of the day, just celebrating the small victories with those young men, I really found out the importance of that.
Well, and, you go 1-10, you go 3-7, and right now you're 5-0. So even if you don't win another game, and I'm not, heaven forbid that, that's not going to happen, but
right.
You know what I'm saying? You've improved every year. And so they get new goals and they get new aspirations. Yes, and I noticed this summer on Twitter, you had Titan and they were speed training.
Yes.
Y'all were tracking them on GPS and showing the gains. Yes, and I saw a lot of video of your guys out there doing the speed work, doing the agility work, and doing a lot of team bonding stuff. And, that's got to be cool too, where every year, you can look back and go, hey, you remember when all y'all wanted to do was score
right
on your own field? Now we're talking about we got a chance to make the playoffs, or we got a chance to win a region championship or something like that. Yep. And it's got to be very gratifying to watch them, succeed at that level and the excitement. It's probably a little bit easier to get them to do stuff too when you're 5-0 too.
Without a doubt, yes, sir. That's so true. And I mean, I think I'm very big on player leadership. We have a leadership council, and I always meet with my seniors, and I want them to have a lot of input because I say, guys, like at the end of the day, this is your team. I'm just a figurehead, but if y'all don't have buy-in, if y'all don't feel like y'all have ownership, then we're not going to be a very good football team. So I get a lot of input from them, and they help with our goal setting. And our motto for this year was is restore the roar. And I just kind of back in the spring, just kind of threw that out there to them. And I was like, I know y'all might think that's corny and cheesy, and stuff like that, but I put up a graphic, and it had all the years that we made the playoffs, and as I said, with Coach Davis, man, I mean, in the 90s, I think we only missed it 2 years, so it's just one of those things, but we still haven't won a playoff game since my senior year in 2000, so I was talking to those guys like, fellas, we have the talent to be able, to make the playoffs, and not just make the playoffs, but if we get a good draw, we could win a playoff game. And I just talked to, them about the proud tradition that we had that, no, we've never been to a semifinal. We've never won a state championship, but back, quote unquote, back in the day, I know I sound like one of those old heads, but like we were a respectable program that people knew, like, okay, Franklin County, they might not be the most talented. They might not be the biggest, strongest, fastest, but by God, they're going to play their fannies off. They're going to play hard, and they're going to get after it, and they're going to be well disciplined. And they've really bought into that. So as you said, one of our goals this year what was to be able to make the playoffs and put ourselves in a position to maybe win the playoff game. Now we do play in a very hard region, with our traditional rivals, the Hart County, Stevens County. They're very good year in and year out. East Jackson, Coach Pettis has done a heck of a job with them down there, so they've turned into a very good program. They're 5-0 as well. And also we have the private school giants that are Hebron Christian and Prince Avenue in our region. So there's no easy games in that. But I mean, I felt like last year we were able to compete. We were in every ball game but one going into the fourth quarter, so that's been very important for us. And, last year I told the guys we learned how to compete. And this year we need to learn how to win, and have that winning standard and have that winning edge. And I tell them all the time, fellas, where the bar's set, that's the standard. It ain't going to drop. You got to rise to it, or you need to find something else to do. And I mean, I say that out of love, but a lot of them have truly bought into it. The pillars that we want to build our program on are commitment, accountability, and brotherhood. And it's been awesome just to see some of those guys who were drive you nuts in seventh grade, to be some of the best leaders on your team.
Well, there ain't no doubt. Watching them grow up is like one of the best, probably most gratifying and rewarding parts of our profession, because unlike, I've told people this for years, I'm like, y'all don't understand what it's like to do what we do when, if you work on cars.
Right.
When you get done rebuilding a motor, you put the key in the ignition, you turn it on, and it runs. Yes. If you build houses, at some point in time, you stand back with your hands on your hips and go, "I built that." We don't get to see our finished product until maybe 10 years down the road.
Yes, sir.
Did they become productive citizens? Are they good husbands? Are they good fathers? Are they, are they productive, tax-paying members of society? Right. Did we do our job when we had them to get them there? And we don't get to see that until later. But it is fun to watch them grow up from, well, in your case, from middle school all the way through, but even just from ninth grade, even just a year, from ninth grade to 10th grade, that change. And like you said, once they start dating and driving, they got so many more distractions, and they've got other things they could be doing. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes, sir. Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, there's lots of stuff they could be doing other than, coming at 6 o'clock in the morning and practice football.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's what we tell them all the time. Of course, we got Lake Hartwell, this about 15 minutes from us. And, it's like we talk about all the time. Fishing is huge up here. It's like, fellas, like.
Hello, it is Ryan. And we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Y'all could easily be fishing, out on the boat, stuff like that. And we appreciate, y'all doing that. And we really try to incentivize our summer workouts, for the guys that do that and all, do some cool things for them, we always do either some type of like T-shirt, for the ones who make it. We'll do for the ones who make all the workouts. We'll do a steak dinner for them, and we'll have them over to my pool. And my wife is great. She's amazing, man. I call her the director of football operations, but she does so much, man, and always opening up our home. And the kids love it. And I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, 2 boys, and then we got a little girl who's 3. But my boys love those players so much, man, and they just look up to them, and it's awesome just to see my players who I've invested in, investing in my own kids, you know, and it's really awesome. And, you know, you just talk about with kids. I mean, I tell my parents all the time in my parent meeting, like my goal for them is not for them to like me right now, because there's going to be days they don't like me. There's going to be days their parents don't like me. But, you know, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, I hope they will look back and say, like, okay, you know, Coach Holland, he truly did love me. He truly was, even though I thought he was crazy and OCD, you know, and ornery about stuff. He did that because he felt like it was best, and he was trying to help me become a young man. I mean, to me, that's I see coaching as a ministry, and that's what, you know, I just pray that the Lord uses me to make an impact for them that lasts beyond, you know, a 10-game football season, or even more if you make the playoffs, but, you know, hopefully last for an eternity.
So when you first got started at the high school level, how did you approach spring and summer? And has that changed over the years? Have you evolved, or have you just kind of kept it the same? And I mean, how have you gone about your off-season preparations into the summers and things like that? That's always interesting to me, how people do it.
Yes, sir. I mean, it is definitely evolved. I mean, Coach, literally the first year, I felt like that hamster on the wheel that was just running 100 miles an hour. And I mean, it was literally me and 4 other coaches on campus. My coordinator was coming from a different school, so he would come when he could. There were other guys in who were doing different jobs and stuff like that. So that spring, I mean, I told my guys, we want to create excitement around the program and get as many kids as we can, you know, out there. And I mean, there were some days where I was literally, me and, you know, three other assistants were running a practice with 80 kids once we brought those 8 critters up, you know, and I was having to do both the offense and defensive side of the ball, you know, but in that year we just did a green and white scrimmage where we scrimmaged each other because I felt like that was the best. Year 2 had a little bit more stability. Brought another coordinator in so that way I could step out of the coordinating roles, but he was once again in another school, so he was here the majority of the time, you know, with that. So we did another spring game, and then this past year, another spring scrimmage, this past year, having pretty much the same staff, little turnover, so many returning guys, we actually did a spring game versus Cedar Shoals out of Athens. And it's just one of those things, Coach, I felt it was time. Like, I felt like our guys were hungry. You know, I know it's spring is hectic. We got a lot of guys who do track. I mean, heck, our baseball team, we got a fabulous baseball team. They played for a state championship. So our starting quarterback literally missed the entire spring, but it was a great time for other guys to be able to get reps. Our track team got runner-up at state this year, got a fabulous track team. So a lot of them literally came in for 2 days of practice and then, you know, played in the spring game versus Cedar. But I felt like we were finally at a point to where we were kind of standing on firm ground, on a firm foundation, and we were able to go out there and compete. And it was very exciting for our kids. It kind of gave them something to work to, you know, during spring, kind of getting out of the monotony, you know, and things like that. So it definitely changed. And I mean, I love listening to your podcast, and, you know, so many coaches talk about, well, hey, spring game didn't work with us, you know, the inter squad, or we did the inter squad the first 2 years, and the spring game really worked well for us, you know, and developed a relationship with Coach Sharpie, who was originally from South Carolina, but's at Cedar Shoals now. We're planning on doing the spring game again just because it was good for both teams, you know, when you're able to get all the guys on film. It's exciting, and kind of give you some film and things to look at, you know, from a game perspective going into the summer.
Well, I think you hit on something there too about having a relationship with guys you do spring with, because, you know, if you're with somebody that's keeping the main thing, and it's spring, you know,
Right. Yes,
I don't care if we win by 1,000 or lose by 1,000. That's not what it's for. But some guys, they don't think that way. You know, you get out there and you're like, all right, man, in the third quarter, we're going to play our young kids, right? And they're like, oh, yeah. And then you throw the Booney Boochies out there, and you look out there and they've got their Mandingo Warriors out there still. And you're like throwing your arms up. Hey, man, what are we doing? So having that relationship with the guy you go in spring, that makes a difference. And one of the words that you said earlier in the conversation that I think just epitomizes, you know, just everything you've talked about so much is evolving.
Right. Yes, sir.
You know, you've evolved and watched them in the weight room, and you've watched them, you know, and you've changed the way you do spring. And I'm sure summers probably have been different too, whether it's, you know, OTAs or just staying at home or 7-on-7s and things like that. You know, I know some people have a system and they stick with it, and some people are still kind of building that system to figure out what works. And I'm of the opinion that every group's different. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a head coach, but if I were, I would probably think that I don't know that you can do the same thing for, every year for the guys, because they're just a different group.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I think that's so true. Each year is different within itself. We have things that we try to do consistently. Just talk about the evolution. I mean, I've been very fortunate. Coach Kamen Brooks, who started the first year as the defensive coordinator. He moved to offense last year. He kind of runs the weight room, and he's great, man, at just like getting stuff. And I can fully trust him with that. And he's done a great job of that. And you talk about the Titan sensors. Coach Caleb Hardy, came over from East Jackson, and he was big on like the speed training and stuff. And we bought the Dasher system, for the lasers to be able to time 40s, pro shuttle, L drill, things like that. But like he was big into this, and I heard, giving y'all a plug, with your Titan, sensor. But man, it's great, just to be able to have that. So just having those guys, and not only the kids being able to grow, but to be able to see my coaches grow. Because I mean, with us being a small program, I mean, it's I don't get guys who come in here, and like, okay, well, I'm going to go here for 2 years and I'm going to get a coordinator job somewhere else. I'm going to be a head coach, and it's like, our supplements are fair supplements, but I mean, it's not one of those systems where you come in and going to make bank, but it's like our coaches want to be here, that they love the kids. And it's just been cool just to see the true evolution. And, just talking about summer, I mean, we're blessed this year to be able to go down to Jasper County with Coach Henderson, do an OTA with them. So that was cool for us to kind of get out of the Northeast Georgia area to be able to go down there and kind of, compete against some of those Central Georgia teams. Then we went up to FCA camp, the paddock camp that they do. We actually went to Piedmont this year, man, and it's just amazing. I love it just for our guys to be able to have that, spiritual exposure, and be able to do, team Bible studies and all. But I mean, like Toombs County was up there, and I mean, just to see the level that their program plays at. So, just being able to do that, I finally felt like we were ready. Went to a 7-on-7 down at Georgia Tech, this summer. So that was cool for our guys to do. So I think you hit it on the head. Each year is going to be different. And I've learned as a coach, I feel like it's important to understand that and say, okay, well, this worked for us last year, but this might not work for us this year. So we got to figure out how we want to do stuff that best suits the team.
Yeah, I know this is my first year at Dodge, and the head coach, Philip Brown's his second year. And, last year it was, how first year is. You go in and you're like, man, good Lord, you got all this stuff that you got to deal with, and things that you weren't necessarily prepared for. That's just baptism by fire. Well, this year he was like, hey, we're going to go to OTA at Putnam County. We're going to sleep in the gym. We're going to treat it like old school camp. Right. And there's going to be a bunch of great teams up there. He said, now, I don't know, I don't know if I could have taken that bunch I had last year.
Right.
But this bunch this year, I think we'll be okay. And it was great. I mean, I hated it because I'm old. And the lights didn't turn off in the gym, and it was like 25 degrees. I ended up running down to Walmart to get me a blanket. I called my wife. I said, I'm sorry, baby, when you look at the ATM, I had to go to Walmart and get a blanket. She was like, well, I tried to get you to take one, you dummy, but you didn't. But anyway, and you got good competition. You got to see other people like Sequoia was there, and Stratford Academy was there, and, of course, Putnam was there. And, I mean, and our kids got to be around other kids that they normally – I mean, Sequoia, they have no idea what part of North Carolina that's in. I mean, we've got those kind of kids. I love Duke. You're like, yeah, you don't even know what part of Illinois Duke's in. 90% of them are like, yeah, but I like them. And you're just looking at them clue. Yeah, and they're over there talking to the kids, and they're like, Warren County, where's that? And you try to tell them, because I mean, a lot of our, it's probably the same way with Franklin County. They're rural kids, and if they're not like, big name programs, they don't know, they don't even know, that what classification they are, and they're like, Sequoia. What is that? Where's that? Right. And you're like, it's north of Atlanta. And that's all they need to know. And, a lot of our kids, they've never been to Atlanta.
Exactly.
So they're like, oh, cool. And, and they pointed at another school. Where's that school? And they're like, oh, you just know everybody, don't you? And I'm like, well, no, I know where the schools are. But it's just a great experience, and like you guys getting to go OTA with Ashley Henderson, it's like one of my favorite dudes. And
Yes,
and again,
right,
that relationship of going and OTAing with people that you trust,
Yeah.
that you can go, hey coach, can you run that back? Can you show us that again?
Right.
You know, just to get the work.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I don't like the 7-on-7 stuff these days, because back in the old days, you know, you and I would throw against each other on a Thursday or Tuesday, and if you got motion from doubles to trips and we screwed it up, I could go, hey Coach Holland, can you run that back?
Right. Yes,
Can
sir.
you let
Yes,
us
sir.
can you let us talk through this real quick? And
Right.
now it's like, oh, we're trying to win the Okie dokie University 7-on-7 championship or whatever. And I get it, but I kind of miss the instructional time of running it back.
Right. Well, coach, with us being the triple option team, we're like, okay, can we run triple? And as long as we pitch the ball forward, you know, does that count as a pass? You know, but I love 7-on-7 just from the defensive side, because it does. We got some dynamic, you know, quarterbacks and receivers that we play against, so it helps us, you know, work with that. And I mean, it's the competition piece, yeah. But I'm like you know, sometimes you get the ball on the dang 1 yard line, and it's like, okay, like this is so unrealistic, because we're going to get in too tight. You know, go foot to foot splits. We're going to wedge block, and we're going to run a quarterback sneak or a fullback dive. You know, so it's just, but like I say, it's a great experience. You know, and like your kids, I mean, it's when we went to Tech. I mean, for some of our kids, that was their first time being on a college campus. You know, so it's awesome for them to be able to do that. You know, and have that. But going back to y'all's camp, when you tweeted that out, man, back during the summer, I couldn't help but just die laughing. You know, when you were talking about just freezing to death on the gym floor and stuff like that.
Oh, it was brutal. And we went to Tech too. So like, we went to Tech like the next week.
Okay. Yeah,
and we had kids that had never been to Atlanta.
Right. Yeah,
so we go by the federal prison, because the way we went, and the kids are like, hey, Coach Lamb, what's that building right there? And I was like, that is for real jail. Like, you ride the lightning in that place.
Right.
And the kids are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's right there. And we're in the middle. I mean, you know, we're in the middle of downtown. Well, I mean, our kids, it's downtown Atlanta, Jack. And they're like, well, where is Georgia Tech in Atlanta? And I'm like, it's in Atlanta. Like, it's, you couldn't be more in Atlanta than Georgia Tech is. So it was, like you said, it was cool experience for the kids. And, you know, we're up there the same day we're there, like, Hoko's there and Kale's there.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And, you know, there's just people from all over, and kids are like, oh, I've seen him on Twitter. Oh, that kid's got, he's a Power 5 guy. And, oh, that guy's, you know, he's a 5-star. And you know, and some of them were like, well, I'm just as good as he is. You know, or some of them were like in awe. But, you know, they competed. And like you said, that competition piece is so big, especially, you know, when you're taking the strides that y'all have taken at Franklin County, getting them to compete is super important.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I think that was the biggest thing. I mean, just changing the mindset of, I don't care who you are. I mean, whether you're a teenager or you're a grown adult, you know, when you've lost, you know, consistently, that starts to get to, you know, that works on your mindset. That works on your emotions. So just trying to, as you said, I mean, that was our goal, you know, like in year 1 and year 2, man, we just want to go out here and learn to compete, you know, and a lot of the teams that we play, specifically in our region, are going to be more athletic than us. They're going to be bigger. They're going to be faster. They're going to be stronger, but understand that, like, doing the little things right, being disciplined, you know, being hard-nosed, things like that can make a difference. And once again, man, our society, unfortunately, competition is not something that is promoted like it once was. I mean, it's, hey, if you don't want to do something, or if it gets hard, man, just throw your hands up and quit. But I've been really proud of our guys, because they've really accepted the challenge. And, you know, I tell them all the time, fellas, you know, trash Monday through Thursday equals trash on Friday night. So you can't, you know, be a jackleg in the classroom and be lazy in the classroom and be lazy in the weight room and be lazy on the practice field and let it be the clown show and then expect to show up on Friday night and be ready to ball out. It don't work like that. You got to do those little things right. And that's what we started preaching, really when the season got over, for us, last year we missed the game by the playoffs. Missed the playoffs by one game. So, into November, but then at the beginning of December, we're like, fellas, look, like next season starts now. Like, we got to make some strides, got to be able to, make some gains with that. So, it's been good to see those guys, develop that competitive spirit and really embrace it.
Well, something you said is you're not alone in the fact that, our head coach preaches to our kids, what your practice habits are going to show up on Friday.
Yes.
And I told some of our assistant coaches the other day, and I know they get tired of me anyway, but they get tired of listening to me tell them stories. And I'm like, guys, I've only seen two people in my life that could turn it on and turn it off. And that was Darryl Strawberry when he entered free agency, and Barry Bonds. And I'm not saying that there aren't other professional athletes that don't have that ability or didn't, but I just vividly remember they could look around and go, all right, well, I guess I'll just be me. Go out there and I'm like, we're not them. We're not those guys. And trying to get today's youth, and like you said, we've devalued competition. We've devalued work.
Yep,
we've devalued, how important it is to work hard, and everybody gets a trophy. And no, I'm sorry. There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And guess what? Life's going to be the same way.
Exactly.
And it might not necessarily
that's reality.
Be, right. And it might not necessarily be a financial thing or anything like that, but more to what you preach. No pun intended, but the ministry that you feel that you're led to share at the high school level, it's a spiritual war, and they're either going to win it or they're going to lose it.
Right, yeah.
And you still have to compete.
Right, yeah. Well, that's what we just talk about, like what makes you, and of course, like I'm partial to football. That's always been my love. But I came from a great, Christian household, had great parents, but football was what kept me motivated. It helped me want to keep my grades up. It helped me want to stay out of trouble so I could be eligible. And that's what I tell the guys all the time. Like, I still feel like football is the ultimate team sport. I feel like it's the ultimate, athletic sport that can really prepare you for life, because there's going to be days where you don't want to come to football. There's, we do morning practice Tuesday and Thursday. There's going to be mornings where you don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock and come to practice. But fast forward 10 years, you're a husband, you're a daddy. There's going to be days that you don't want to get up and go to work, but you're going to get up and go to work to make that sacrifice for your family, because if you miss too many days of work, you're going to get fired, and you ain't going to be able to provide for your wife. You ain't going to be able to provide for your kids. So I think that's, something that we say, like, fellas, it's football. It helps us win football games, man, but we're trying to prepare y'all to be young men who, as you say, productive citizens of society that give back. And, if you do become a husband one day, you're going to be a good husband. If you become a daddy one day, you're going to be a good daddy. If you, where you work, you're going to be a good employee. So that's really what we're trying to get at with them. So that to me, that's kind of the biggest mission, and goal that we have.
So as you head into the season's half over,
right,
and it's hard to believe.
Crazy,
today was the first day of fall. It was 90 degrees down here. and I keep telling them, like, hey, the goldenrod started blooming. It's going to cool off in 2 weeks. Goldenrod and pecan trees don't lie. And the kids are looking at me like, you're an idiot.
Crazy.
And I'm like, no, I'm serious. And because I love cold. And I heard today it was like the first day of fall. And it's just hard to believe that, those 10 guaranteed games.
Right.
Half of them are gone.
Yes, sir.
So what's Franklin County looking at for the second half of the season to improve upon? And, do you celebrate you obviously celebrate the success, or do you, all right, that one's over, let's go on to the next one?
Yeah, well, I think, I try to be very upfront, with my guys and celebrate some things, and it's, obviously, as I said, our goal was to be able to, make the playoffs this year. And with the power rankings, obviously that opens up a few more doors. So, I mean, it's one of those things to where if we can continue to do like we're doing, we'll be able to do that. But I also told the guys, that our motto, we had this, I think 2 weeks ago, was to stay humble and to stay hungry, and it's great, man, that we're 5-0. I think it's only the second or third time our program has ever started 5-0, but we're going up to play one of our biggest rivals, Stevens County, on Friday, so they've always got a good ball team year in, year out, so really having that focus week in and week out of like, okay, yes, we're playing this team, but we've got to focus on us. We've got to focus on us doing the little things. We got to focus on us. We have a motto: be your best, do your job every dang day, and that's what we want to do. Just every day, show up, work, be able to get better. So it's one of those things. I mean, you definitely want to celebrate. But when, Monday comes around, it's like, all right, fellas, we won last week. Now we're 5-0, but hey, we got a big ball game coming up, so I just think having that, fresh mindset each week of focusing on the task at hand, just like you would in the ball game, is very important. But as I said, I mean, our region is extremely tough, what we have. So, but I'm excited about the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm ready to see, what our guys are going to be able to do against some of the competition we'll play. And I mean, some of those teams are some of the top teams in the state. So it's going to be fun to be able to see that. But just as I said, just coming to work every day, tell them all the time, control what you can control and overcome the rest. And just really trying to have that mentality of, you're going to have injuries, you're going to have setbacks, but you just got to come ready to work every day.
And trying to get a child these days to understand that, when they see the microwave society and they see,
right.
They have instant access to things that we never even huddle. I mean,
right.
I was showing one of the other teachers today that I share a classroom with, I'd pulled up Huddle and showed him that. And he was like, so the kids have this. And I was like,
yeah.
Yes, sir. They can watch it on their phones.
Yeah.
And he was like, huh. I said, yeah, if y'all knew all of the stuff that we put in their hands, you would sit up there on a Friday night and go, you kidding me? We missed a block. We don't know what route to run. What are we doing? And I'm like, yeah, they get to watch practice every day, and we do a lot of meetings and we do a lot of teaching off tape, and yeah, their access to what's going on is way more than we ever had.
Yes, sir. Definitely a little bit different from the VHS tapes that we had. We had to rewind, and stuff like that. So
yeah, trying to make your own highlight tape back then was like you needed a stack of VCRs and
yes,
and a quick finger on the pause and play and record button.
Yep, it hit the slow mo in there too to get it. But that's I remember when it was huge when it just came out where you could convert VHS to DVD. I remember how awesome that was, and just being down in my parents' basement, doing that. So it is amazing, what just the advances in technology, and just how much easier from a coaching, perspective it's made things, and it's wild, man.
Well, I know everybody's different and everybody has their way and their philosophies and what they do and how they do. But what's some advice you'd give to some younger coaches out there that are aspiring to be head coaches and take over programs that may be on a 14-game losing streak before they come in, or a 17-game, or turning something around? What's some advice you'd give some of those guys?
Yeah, I think, man, the biggest thing, and I know this sounds cheesy, and it's kind of a phrase that people use, but be yourself. You do you. Whatever your strengths are as a coach, really try to play to those. Whatever your weaknesses are as a coach, try to find other coaches who can help you can surround yourself with to help fill those voids. I think that's huge. Don't try to be a cookie cutter mold of another coach, even though that might be a good coach or a great coach. That might work for them, but it might be different working for you. And also think the patience piece of just like understanding, and I'm a very impatient person, but just understanding that things might not go the way you had it planned, but that's okay too. When you have those, analyze it, see what's going on, see what's working, and try to make changes, according to that. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just do you be, what you feel like you're best at, work at, but also be patient and just understand, man, at the end of the day, we're dealing with 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who have a lot going on outside of life. And in the big picture, it's more about wins and losses,
Well, Coach, I'm so glad you came on and shared your story with us. We had some technical snafus on my end to get started, but for those that know, for me, that's pretty normal. So, but I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, and congratulations on a great start to this year. And you're definitely building it the right way. And I know that those kids at Franklin County, they may not realize it now, and maybe not every day, but they're definitely blessed to have a man like you that's pouring into them and cares about them not only mentally and physically, but spiritually as well.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach, and I appreciate what you do, man. It's been awesome. It's your podcast has helped me in my coaching journey, and I know we kind of talked off air, but when you did the Legend Series, man, just to hear, I know Coach Winslet's one of your favorite, man, but just he was at Stevens County when I played at Franklin County. I remember Coach Teague when he was at Swainsboro talking about, Coach Devane in Hart County. Hart County was our main rival, and just hearing some of that stuff. And I remember Coach Wood from Buford when he was talking about playing against Monte Williams at Commerce. Me and Monte were the same age, and he played as a freshman. I didn't play till my sophomore year, but we literally competed, sophomore, junior and senior year. And then my junior year, we actually went to Carrollton to play Coach Scott's team. So it's really been cool for me. Hearing those legends, and even though I didn't coach against them, like playing against them, and just hearing that, and we played at a jamboree with Coach Heron down at Oconee County. So what you do, man, is amazing for us, and it truly is a help. So I appreciate all that you do, and can't wait to look forward to listening to more of your episodes.
Thanks, Coach. I sure do appreciate it. Season 7
sir.
of Son Coaches Podcast is proudly brought to you by Titan Sensor. Season 7.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. CT&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.